Hello guys, you're welcome back to my channel. This is Sim and Stitches again. Alright, so on today's tutorial we are going to be making this particular dress you are seeing on the screen. We are going to be recreating it. Now what you need is your already made top pattern, that is half block scale. So that is what you're going to be altering. So from what I have on the picture, I already drafted my already made top pattern, and if you look at it, there's an alteration on the neck. I did not cut out the neckline. Normally I would have marked 3 inches by 3 inches basic neck depth and neck width, but you would not do that. Just make it as simple as you have seen on the screen. Indicate the neck point but do not cut it out. And also I made it to have a bustier dart line. That is what you have there. You can see it there. I turned it and I add my shoulder my shoulder dart also. So instead of having the bust dart, I transferred the bust dart to the shoulder dart. Now what you need to do is you're going to be cutting out this pattern on fold. So you are making a full body, a full scale. So you are placing it on fold in order to cover the other side of your body. So that's just what I did. Then you go ahead and transfer all the markings on that other side to this plain side. You can do this with the help of your tracing wheel. So once you trace it out, you're going to see all the lines. You just have to draw it out. So I used a tracing wheel. You can see that from this side, you can see the traces of what I already drew on the other side. So that was just what I did. You also go ahead and do that. We're going to be replicating the marks that we have on the other side on this same side also, especially for the neck area, because that neck area is what we need. That is the reason why we need to spread it open in order to cut it out. Now do that for your own too. All right, so next thing you're going to do is to spread it open. After you have indicated the neck width and the neck depth on the other side, spread it open. With that, you can see the center points of your pattern. Yes, so you have the right side and the right and the left side. Now from the other side, they're going to be marking 1 inch, 1 inch downward from the apex of your neckline. Mark your 1 inch downward, because that is where the curve is going to come. You see this neckline, while I was observing how it was constructed, I discovered that it looks like the Nike logo. So it looks like you're marking something right, or you're marking it correct. So we're going to be marking out this 1 inch to indicate the bent part. So mark 1 inch. You can also make yours to be 1.5 inches actually. So just indicate that point that is coming down. Come down from the apex of your neck, mark that 1.5 or 1 inch. Then you come outward. You can see what I'm doing right on that line. Come outward by another 1 inch. You can make it also 1.5. Use whatever you use to come down to also come inward inside of your neck, not outside the neck. So place your curved ruler like that and connect it to where your neckline stops. You can see what I did there. Please stay focused. It's very easy and simple to do. Just mark it. All we need is a curved neck. Now the next thing you're going to do, from your high bust measurement on that your armhole line, from your high bust measurement on your armhole line, you come in by either 1.5 or 2 inches depending on what you want. Now you're going to mark it out and connect the curve, that curve that you're bringing from that your neckline. Connect it. You can see what I'm doing there. It is very easy to do. Just pay attention. You're going to connect it together to form that curve. It's going to be curved in this area. So you're going to be forming that curve like that. See, from that point where you marked your high bust line, you know that high bust is used to tighten your over bust. So that mark, you connect it to that your neckline. See what I did? Very easy to do. If you have this ruler or your hip curve or your armhole curve, it's going to make your work to be easy. So just connect the two lines together. Now the neck shape is forming, is coming up. Now the next thing you want to do now is to go to the other side of your neckline. Now you remember, when we were marking our neckline, you have the 3 points, 3 inches, 3 inches deep and 3 inches wide. Now from this point, you're going to determine how long you want it to be. So it depends on you, it depends on what you desire. Some can make it, to come down much more, and if you want it to be a bit above your high bust, you can also make it in such way. So this is just what I did for mine. Now, in order not to make it to be too wide, because as much as you want it to have that shape, you still want the neckline to be tightened. You don't want it to loose or to fall open. You see, by the time you are sewing this, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. So you come in by 1.5 or 2 inches from the angle 90 there. Then you are going to connect this line that you just made, connect it to the high bust area. You remember your high bust area that we marked from the other side of the neckline. You're going to connect it like that. So I had to turn my pattern in order for you to see what I was doing. This thing is very easy to do. Just pay attention. Do not rush. No one is rushing you. Pay attention and use the right tool. Yes, me using this tool was a blessing to me because it made my sketches to be very, very easy. I think this is even one of the necessities that you need when you're drafting a pattern. So you just connect it. See what I'm doing? Connect it like that. And with that, you've already created a silhouette for your neckline. This is what you're going to be cutting off when you're making that neckline depth. This is the part you will be cutting away. With that, you've already marked, it has given you that Nike shape. I'm just the one calling it Nike because it looks like the Nike mark to me. So you have that Nike logo or the yes mark, when you're marking your script, you have it good like that. So you have the neckline. You can see that it's so easy, guys. It's so easy. Next thing you want to do now is to cut the cape line. All right, so now you already have it cut out, so your neckline is forming. Now the next thing you want to do now is to mark the cape. If you notice on this part I'm pointing at, there is a cape that comes outward, it falls on that shape. So that's what we are going to be cutting out now. Okay, so you go on and replicate this on another pattern. You're going to be placing your paper, this already made paper. We're going to be placing it on another pattern. You cut out the neck, the shape of the neck that we just made, and you're going to be marking out about 3 to 4 inches from each side of the neckline. So the first thing you do is trace out the shape of the neck that you just marked. Trace it out on a new pattern paper. So this is what we are trying to create the cape. So you pick a new pattern paper, trace out the shape of the neck. You can also trace out the shape up to the armhole line, because you actually need a part of the armhole line in this construction. So about the midpoint of your armhole, somewhere around your high bust, you can stop somewhere around your high bust. So for both the left and the right side of your armhole, do this, because you're going to be extending it a little bit when you're cutting out the shape, when you're drafting out the shape. So you go ahead and do this. Now this was what I did on a fresh pattern paper. Do not forget. Now the next thing you want to do is to mark out the amount of length, the length that you want your cape to be. So you remember I told there's a cape that is falling out, so you mark out what you want it to be. So I made mine to be about 4.5 inches, such that by the time I'm done sewing, it's going to fall on 4 inches. So you're going to be marking out that. So 4.5 inches. I also indicated where my dart line is, because it is very important. I'm going to be having I'm going to have to bend it at a point. That line, there's going to be a curve in form of letter S. Yes, you see what I'm doing now. So it's just the technicality of this design. So you go on and mark your dart line on the new paper. Don't forget, on this new paper that you're marking, you mark the 3 inches on the right and you mark the 3 inches on the left. Now you see that the moment I removed my my top pattern paper, this second pattern paper that I'm drafting the neckline is already reflecting something that looks like the shape of the neck. So that was what I was talking about. Now you're going to mark that 4.5 inches all round the neck. 4.5 inches, don't forget, 4.5 inches all round the neck. That's going to be the shape of my collar. It's more like you are cutting a facing. So if you're familiar with the way we cut facing for turning the neckline of our fabric, this is very similar to it. Just that in the case of you marking a facing, you're going to be having the facing going in is going to be coming out. So the facing for this one is coming out. That is what makes it a cape. So this is just for beginners. If you're an OG in the fashion industry or sewing, you will know that this is how we do the capes. So if it's going in, it's going to be a facing for turning the neck. But if it's coming out, it's going to be in a form of a collar. Now, if you notice that point where I have my dart line, I went up by 1 inch. Yes, you see what I'm doing. You remember that this point where I'm touching is my dart line. So I went on like that, and then I curved it slightly to give me from something of an S shape, because it's going to be resting on my bust like that. So it gave me something of an S shape. Don't worry, I'm going to turn the camera to show the other side of this pattern just for you to see it clearly as I am drafting it. So this is what we have there. You see, I'm already giving you that shape that you need. It's going to slip well on my bust area, and it will go inward into the side of the armhole line. Yes, this is what you should also do. Sincerely, if you do it this way, you get the same result. You get the same result as it is in the picture. So just follow the line like that. Yes, I told you I would turn the camera. You can see what I'm doing there. So I stopped at my underbust line. My underbust line, that was where I stopped the mark. You can make yours to go beyond that, but I did mine to stop at that point, at that region. You can see what I did there. Very easy and convenient to do. And with that, sincerely, you are done with the cape. You have just drafted a pattern of your cape. Now we're going to be cutting two of this because it's going to be having a nice neatly sewn cover. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So you have your cape and you're going to place it directly on the pattern. So with that, you have the cape for the front side. Do you understand what I'm talking about, guys? This is just easy and simple as A, B, and C. So you can see that you have already done that. You have already cut out your cape, you have done the neckline, and your cloth is coming to shape. So what you need now is just to proceed into cutting it out. Now I mean cutting it out on fabric. Now look at this. The lines that you marked, all these dart lines, don't forget you are going to be closing them up. The dart line, especially on the shoulder, you're going to be closing them up. On the bust area till you close it up. You can see what I did there. So you close it up before you cut it out on your fabric. Well, if you actually do not close it up before cutting out on your fabric, just indicate it so that by the time you are stitching, you're going to be holding it in by that 1 inch, that is ½ inch on the right side and another ½ inch on the left side. So you can see that this is very easy to make. Now after I had done this, I proceeded to cutting my fabric. So I labeled each. After cutting the paper, I cut the pattern into pieces and I used that pieces to cut out my fabric. So you too go ahead and do that. Okay guys, at this point you can begin sewing. So for the cape, I cut an interfacing because I wanted it to be firm and I want it to slip well on the fabric. So I added an interfacing. I'm using a crepe fabric, so it's a bit soft. but I want my cape to be hard in order to give out that silhouette, that shape, that structure that I needed. So I went on to iron my interfacing on the cape, on one side of the cape. So I ironed it on the wrong side of the front side of the cape. I told you I will be cutting two pieces for this cape. One is going to serve as the main fabric, and the other will serve as the lining. So that was what I did. Now I ironed the interfacing on the main fabric. So this is what you should do too, because it is the main fabric that will be facing the right side, which everyone will see, and that is the part where I want to have that structure. So I went on to do that. You should go ahead and do that. The next thing, you take your cape to the sewing machine just as you have placed it on each other. That is the lining on the main fabric. You take it to your sewing machine and you sew. Now after that, you're also going to join your dart area for the upper part of your top. That part where you have the curved lines, where I'm just showing you. You can see that I held it with a pen. You're going to join it together. That is when you have the formed and the structure of the upper part of the neckline. So the first part I'm doing in this construction is to indicate the neckline, because it is that neckline that has the major work. All right, so when you are done turning the cape, you take it to your ironing board and iron it out, just as you have seen in the video. You iron it out, making sure that you press open the seam lines so that it won't have a bulgy result. The lines would not overlap each other, but it will lay flat and it will be very neat. This is very compulsory. So next, you go ahead and join the dart lines, just as I explained earlier on. You join the dart lines for the front part of your pattern of the paper, of the fabric that you have cut. After you have joined the dart line, you carefully iron it out. Make sure that the seam lines are flat, so you can use your tailor hand to iron it out so that the bust area will not lose its shape. So that was what I did here. Now you remember that the top has another pieces shape that I told you, whereby you have to join the dart line from the shoulder line. That's at the shoulder line. So you go ahead and do that as well. Make sure that you do not miss any piece. If you need to label them correctly in order for you to get the parts that you need to iron well. Now look at this. Now I've already done ironing this part. I've done the ironing part. Now look at it. It's already coming up. It's forming the shape that I want it to have, and it's turning out well. Now this is the time we're going to place your cape on the neckline. You're going to be using the cape to turn it to the right side, just as I've explained earlier on. So you can see what I did there. You place, we've already sewn the cape, so you're going to place the cape from the wrong side. Yes, from your wrong side. Carefully arrange your cape to sit well with the frame of the neckline design. And then after you have done that, we are going to be stitching it inside out. That is, from the wrong side we are turning it to the right side. Now in order for me, I told you that I used a crepe material, a crepe fabric, in order for me to have that firm, well structured design. I decided to lay out the interfacing on the neck area. So this is just for me to have, it is optional actually. If you are using a more structured fabric, you do not need to do this. So it's because of the nature of my fabric that made me to do this. I needed it to be firm, I needed it to be strong. So you can also do that if you are using the weak of a light fabric. All right, so I attached the interfacing on the neck region before I went on to stitch the cape on it. So when I was done with the interfacing, I flipped it to the other side, that is the right side, and I carefully placed the cape. See, that's the facing. I already cut the facing for turning the neckline, but then I placed the facing, the cape first. Yes, the first layer you're going to be stitching is the cape itself. So place the cape on the neckline, arrange it carefully. You do not need to rush, as I always tell you. It takes time. If you need to take your time, take your time. Make sure that it is well aligned and it is well arranged. So I went on to hold it down with my spin, and then I took it to the sewing machine. Now see what I'm saying. You see the part where I just traced out, that is where I'm going to be stitching, and it is after that that I'm going to be placing the facing on it. Do you understand, guys? All right, so let's go to the sewing machine. All right, so here I went on to run a straight stitch. I carefully did a straight stitch on the neck area. The neck area, that's where we are focusing on. That is from the, if you look at this, I'm placing it on the right side. Do not forget, you are placing this on the right side of your garment, of your top, so or gown, whatever design you're making. Just make sure that your cape is laying on the right side. So I went on and I stitched it, and I stitched it across. Look at the way I folded that part. So you fold it in carefully, just to ensure that your stitches are neat. So by the time you fold this in, it will be as though you are running a top stitch. It's going to be about less than quarter of an inch stitch. The stitch is very, very tiny, so it won't be visible. So don't worry, I'm going to adjust the lighting so that you see what I did there. So you go on and stitch. Now you curve it along your armhole. You remember that the cape runs all through to the armhole area. So you curve it along your armhole, carefully turning it towards the sewing machine, and then you run it all the way down through to the length of the fabric. You remember the length where we are stopping for the cape, that is where you stop as well. Now you have done the top part. Look at it, look at that part. So you have done it. Now I decided to secure it and hold it in so that it would sit well by the time I'm joining the back with the front area. Now look at what I said there, this emphasis on this line. See this line I was talking about. By the time you are done stitching, it's going to be a top stitch and the stitches will be neat. With this well secured, you can now place your facing on the cape that you just stitched. Very easy to do. All right, so next thing, I took it to the ironing board to iron it out. So I flipped open the seam lines and I ironed out all the lines. So it's just for me to be able to have the flat seam at the end of the day. I want this cape to lay flat. I want it to be well secured. I want it to be neat. Yes, so you cannot do without ironing. In this project, you must iron. So in order for me to be able to flip it neatly, I decided to notch all the round edges. So you to go ahead and notch your round edges, the angles that needs to be notched, notch them now in order to for you to turn it well. So that was what I did. I flipped open and I ironed it out. Very easy and simple to do. And right after that, I proceeded to stitching the back piece. That is, I stitched the facing for the back on the neckline of the back. So I did that for both the right side and the left side of the back. Remember that I split my back into two for the zip allowance. So I did that, and after I had done that, I brought it to the ironing board and iron in the dart line. So I added a dart line for fitting of 1 inch, that is half inch on the right side and half inch on the left side. So I picked that half inch on each side for the dart line. My dart is 9 inches long, so that was what I did there. And then I did the neckline as well. So this is me ironing it out. So you to go ahead and iron. And immediately when I was done with the ironing, I placed each of the shoulders, that is, I placed the right side of the back with the left side of the back on the shoulders, that is, the right side facing the right for the front. So this is how you do. I went on to join the shoulders. So this is the first thing you do in constructing this after you had done the necklines for both the front and the back. So you continue with the shoulders. So you join the shoulder line. So that was what I did. Place the shoulder for the front with the shoulder for the back, that is on each side, the left side and the right side for your back piece. Place them appropriately on the shoulder line. Make sure that they align well, and you take it to the sewing machine and you stitch the shoulder lines. All right, now that the upper part of your garment is well done, we move to the down part, that is the bottom part of your garment. And this is going to be in this style is going to be a semi pleat. So there is one side that is being pleated, while the other side is just a free, a free loose skirt like design. So what I did was, the part that has the pleat, I carefully marked it out and I arranged the pleat. I was in this picture, I used 1-inch pleat for each line. So I marked it, stitched it at the top. You know how to make a knife pleat. So this particular type of pleat is called the knife pleat. All you need to do is just carefully arrange it according to the inches that you need. So that was what I did here. As I was arranging it at the top, I was holding it down with a pin in order for me to have a straight line for each of the pleats. So it overlaps each other until you get to that point where you need to stop. So for this particular design, I already marked the parts where I was going to stop, and then I ran the pleats all through the parts that the pleats needed to be. And for the other part, I just went on with a straight, straight stitch, just like that. So that was what I did. And for this stitching, I placed it directly on the upper part of the garment that I had already constructed, and I placed it right side facing each other before applying the pleat. Then the next thing I did was to take it to the ironing board. This is where the work is. So you have to arrange, the way you have arranged the pleat, you carefully iron it out. Now this is for those, if you have the heat pressed machine that is used for stone making on garments, you can also use this. It will make your design to be more effective. Otherwise, you can go on with your steam pressed iron. So I used my steamed pressed iron on this. It takes time. Sincerely, you have to be patient with this process. So it takes a bit of time, and then you arrange it carefully. Now if you look at this part, I made the distance from the last to the second to the last pleat to be a bit wide, as it is in the picture. That was exactly what I did. So you can also follow this. It's not actually compulsory. You can make your own design to be different. So I just tried replicating what I have in the picture. All right, so you go on and just press it. Make sure that your lines are straight. Make sure that they are well arranged. Yes, and make sure that the iron is on high heat, and it is steamed. It is set on the steamed setting. So you just place it right like that. Okay, so at this point, I went on to attach my zipper. You can see that the zipper is already fixed. So for a reason, I didn't know why my camera didn't show that part. I tried recording in order for you to understand how to fix the zipper, but it did not record. All right, so I attached the zipper, and I also attached a lining because the fabric is a bit light. I told you it's transparent, so I attached a lining. So if yours is a different fabric that is more secured, it is not compulsory for you to add the lining. So after I did that, I took it to the weaving machine and I weaved the edges. And what I'm doing right here is just to place the hemming gum on the facing in order for you to for it to have a firm grip, so that it won't be flipping while I am wearing the fabric, the design. All right, so you're almost done at this point. So just go ahead and iron out the edges, the lines, the places that needs finishing. Yes, basically what we are doing is just the finishing part of this construction. So you go on, check for neatness, check the lines are well done, the zippers are lined very well, the edges, the lines are well trimmed, and it comes out neat and fine. So this is what I just did here. The finishing ironing, yes, that's what I was doing here, the final ironing point. right, guys, and here is the final look of this dress. It came out so lovely, exactly as I imagined it to be on me. It came out so nice and perfectly done. You also can do this. I wanted to also give it a trial. If you are going to be posting it on your social media, and you can as well tag me. My social media handle will be displayed on the screen. I want you to tag me on Instagram when you make your own post. So thank you very much. Thank you guys for staying tuned. Thank you for watching up till now. If you have not subscribed, guys, subscribe now. Help my ministry. Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you guys for watching. Kindly like, share, comment, and watch out for another video on this channel. Bye.